Remember, you can serve it warm. You can serve it for a dinner party warm, or you can serve it cold. Feel free to make it the night before and just serve it cold. It tastes just as good. I've taken it to work plenty of times as lunch, and it just tastes amazing the next day. Also, feel free, another ingredient you might want to throw in there is maybe some cheese, like a feta cheese, whatever cheese you like. But feta works really well with this. So I'm just going to put that to the side. Take my bowl here and add some to the bowl. Oh, it just smells so amazing in here. And see, I actually like it a little bit better warm, only because it just tastes like you can really taste the red wine vinegar, but after it sits for a night, you can still taste it too, even when it's cold. So you get a look at all those different colors. It just kind of looks like a rainbow medley on your plate with the Quinoa. And easy, simple, took 15 minutes to make. So I'm going to take a bite to tell you how it came out. That's the best part of cooking, right? So, delicious, easy, full of the vinegar and corn and the scallions, the onion. Everything is just amazing. I'm really, really excited to share with everyone I know, and you should be too. Check out this recipe at www.johnnaknowsgoodfood.com. We'll be back now. Now, I'm going to start with I'll be back with the sweet recipe. Now for Quinoa sweet. I'm going to make a Quinoa fruit salad, and it's going to be served cold versus hot, the way the first recipe was served. Now, in this pot to start things off, I already have about 1.5 cups of water boiling with about 1 cup of red quinoa. Instead of using the basic, beige-looking quinoa, I decided to give it a little more color, especially since this is supposed to be a fruit salad. A little more fun. Now, to this pot, I'm going to add in about 1/2 can of coconut milk and some sugar. And I'm just going to combine those because that's going to play the dressing for this tasty fruit salad. Now, I'm going to go ahead and start with that, and then I'll come back to the mangoes and the strawberries, which are going to be the fruit in the salad. Simple, 2 fruits, nothing extravagant. Unless you want to get extravagant, feel free to add more fruit. Now, to this I'm going to add about 1/2 can. Depends on how much dressing you want. I don't want a lot. I don't want it to saturate the whole dish and just, outweigh all the fruit, the other ingredients, the fruits, the Quinoa. Just want the dressing to play its role, just to add a little extra flavor. And I'm adding about 3 tablespoons of sugar. Lots and lots and lots of sugar, because I want it to be sweet. So there's a lot in there. Now, just going to stir that to combine it. And I have that on about medium-high heat. And I'm just going to let that merge together and let those cook and come together, so that way they'll be warm and the sugar can sort of, melt into the coconut milk. Just for our dressing, just to make that, make those flavors come together. Now the Quinoa is almost ready, and while I'm waiting for both of those to heat up and be totally done, I'm going to come over here. I'm actually going to turn this down because I don't want that to bubble up too much. I can already see the coconut milk and the sugar bubbling along the sides, and I really don't, I don't want it to bubble up too much, or become this thin texture. I want it to just kind of get a little thick, but and be warm and come together the way I want it to. But I don't want it bubbling like the way it is right now. So give that an extra stir. And like I said, I'm going to come over here. Now I'm working with my mangoes. Probably my first time working with mangoes, so I'm excited. Mangoes can be tricky. Now, you see this one is red, yellow, green. This is typical of a ripe mango, and it's soft. I wish you could feel it, but like if you could see my hand sticking in here, and it's soft. So with this mango, also cutting it can be tricky. Now with this mango, I'm going to cut off the bottom, and I'm going to cut off the top. And see, that indicates That right there is the pit. So this will make it easier to shave off the sides here and get right to the root of where I need to be with this mango. Look at it. Isn't it bright and orange? Mangoes are just amazing. And I recently discovered how much I like them as a part of a cold, fruity rice grainy treat. After visiting this Thai restaurant here in the Washington area, they served it was a white rice with a coconut milk cream dressing, and they put mangoes on the side. And I just thought the flavors together, they were just amazing. So I decided instead of using the rice, I would try it with quinoa just to see, what I could, what would come of it. And it ended up being absolutely delicious. So I said I wanted to share with my audience this little recipe. Now I'm being very liberal in cutting the sides. You want to cut around the actual pit, and see, I can feel it right there. But you want to cut around it. I feel like I've gotten everything I can off of this little stem here. And I'm just going to discard that. Now, you can just, from here, you can just make large chunks. I'm just going to turn this board a little bit and just cut liberally, because it really doesn't matter how you cut these. This is not for a dish to, show off, like, per se, the mangoes or the cuts or whatever, but it really is about just adding it to the dish for the flavor. In addition to being an excellent source of vitamins, mangoes are excellent for your digestive system. So I just learned that just now, thanks to the great works of the internet, that it definitely helps there, and I won't elaborate on that, but it's good for those things. So to this bowl over here, my large yellow bowl again, I'm going to add the mangoes and just drop those in there so that way I can start working on my strawberries. Now, I'm just going to wash this off just to get some of that, some of the slipperiness from the mangoes, and bring this back over here. And I'm going to start on my strawberries. I just picked some, a few fresh strawberries. Now, I just make things easier. Cut this off. I'm just going to cut a few heads off here. And I might not even put that many strawberries in. Really, this recipe, the good thing about it and the one before it is you can decide the amount that you want in there. If you have something on hand, if you have fruit, leftover fruit from another party that you had, feel free to use it and throw it in there with the quinoa. And if you want to, you can add in, like dried fruit, try dried cranberries, dried apricots, whatever. Whatever you feel like you want to add to this dish, it really is all on you. But I didn't want to make things too complicated today, so I simply wanted to just use two fruits that I love and, make it really simple for myself. So I'm going to add these in. I'm just going to add them in toss them in as I cut them. Here we go. So to that, my dressing is pretty much ready. It's bubbling over there. It smells amazing. You can smell the coconuts in here. And the coconut combined with the mangoes and the strawberries, it's going to be basically like a smoothie and a salad. So it'll be delicious. And in substituting, the typical ingredients, typical things that you would have in a fruit salad, maybe if you were going to use watermelon or things like that, instead of, just keeping it bland and plain, I think dressings are now like the new thing to add to even fruit and cold salads. So that's why I chose to, make a coconut dressing. Now to this, I could have added, some heavy whipping cream. I could have done it a whole bunch of ways, but I just figured sugar was just enough for the mixtures to come together. Now, the quinoa's done. It's steaming. And like I said, I used a red quinoa this time. I love the color. I love it. And I cannot wait to see it when it's combined with the strawberries and the mangoes. So now, you see how quick that was? This is how simple this is about to be. To this bowl, I'm just going to top it with the quinoa. And I'm not going to put a whole lot, only because I want the fruit and the Quinoa to work together. So I'm just going to use about about a half a cup of what I actually cooked from the Quinoa. And you see, they're in there. Now, what I want to do is I want to combine these together before I add in my dressing. And I'm just folding the Quinoa in, just folding the red Quinoa in with the strawberries and the mangoes. It's really simple. Like I said, feel free to add more things. You know, actually last night when I was at the grocery store, I actually thought about adding in some grapes, some red grapes, or, you know, some green grapes, just to add another pinch of color into this. I'm going to cut off both of these turnstiles, and I'm going to, now, you can see that's the coconut milk mixed with the sugar, and it just, I mean, it smells so amazing in here. And now when I'm adding, I'm going to just drizzle this over the salad mixture here. So, let's see. And see, it's almost like a milky texture. Now you can look at this as basically, like if you like to go to Thai restaurants, this is basically the, you know, the dessert that I was just describing to you that I had when I visited this Thai restaurant. And it's a great delicacy at the end of a meal, or even if you're going to, you know, a summertime party, whatever, even wintertime party. Use winter vegetables, winter fruits, you know, summer fruits, whatever the season is, you can use it, throw it in the fridge, and you have this easy, quick salad. Now, what we're going to do to this is we're going to put this in the fridge because we want this to solidify just a little bit so the sugar will become a little more solid. But this is what it'll look like, or this is what it is after, immediately after when it's served warm. Now, you can also think of it as maybe like an oatmeal dish and eat it, you know, serve it warm. But I'm just going to pop this in the fridge, and we're going to let this sit overnight so that the flavors can come together. Now, because this is TV time, I already have one done. So, let's see what came out. This is what it would typically, you know, after you've let it sit overnight, and, you know, the strawberries, the mangoes, the red Quinoa, the sugar, and the coconut milk, when they come together, this is what it'll look like. And it looks amazing. So I say I eat with my eyes first. And let's see, I want to taste it with the strawberries. And let's get a little bit of that mango in here. Can we get a little? Yeah, there's a little piece right there. So, delicious. The graininess from the Quinoa mixed with the strawberries is like a parade in your mouth. Amazing. Now, we're going to gear up because we have a special guest coming into the studio. And I'm going to try and work on this before she comes in. So now that we talked about our special guest, it's time for me to introduce her to you. Welcome, Daphne, to Johnna Knows Good Food. We're so glad to have you in the studio today. And that's not only because we're excited because you're one of my fave friends, but it's also good just to catch up with you and to talk about food. And today we want to know, what are you going to be making? So I'm going to be making a quinoa version of my favorite pasta dish. I'm really trying to cut down on my carb intake, and quinoa is a great substitute for pasta, and it just goes well with everything that I love it with these ingredients. Excellent. So I guess, looks like the pot over here is boiling, so Fantastic. I guess we can go ahead and start with the quinoa. Yep. Okay. So starting with a cup and a half of boiling water and a cup of quinoa. Yep. And I'll just stir that for you. Help you out here. Now, I was just mentioning how there's like different pronunciations of, well, quinoa. When I first heard it, I heard it as quinoa, but it's like on the, you know, on the dictionary sites it says quinoa. So I'm learning to pronunciate the word in today's show. So I'm just going to turn this down a little bit, and that way it can start simmering and let that cook.
Okay.
So what else is next in the process? Anything?
We should also start heating up the saute pan.
Okay.
And so that we can cook the sausage.
Okay, perfect.
And I am using a chicken Italian sausage.
Okay.
I love regular Italian sausage, but cutting on calories, chicken is a great alternative.
It looks amazing.
Thank you.
No, that's great. And what are some other alternatives I guess you can use besides
turkey? Tofu. You definitely want to use, at least I like to use something a little bit spicy. You know, working all day, you don't want to, just doing all the spices and everything by hand. I get a little head start on a few things.
Oh, I definitely totally understand. Now, let's talk about Go Gastronomy. That's your Washington, D.C. based food blog.
Yes.
And I know you write pretty much every week. Like, how often do you write? What inspired you to write? How did you get started?
Well, I got started back in my early 20s when there was a site owned by GeoCities by Yahoo called GeoCities, where people just started what they called them blogs. Just people had personal websites about. I wrote about my travels and my eating habits.
Okay.
So it was a lot of fun. I then just started including that into the site, and then started my own website called Go Gastronomy, and about food and travel and living a life of yum.
Excellent. Now, should I add a little bit of olive oil to the pan?
Yes,
okay,
please.
Okay. Perfect. Excellent. So now what can we expect to see from Go Gastronomy going forward?
Well, now that I've just recently moved to the DC area officially, and so I'm exploring the local